We fooled everybody. We went live early. How about that? Never seen that before on this channel.
Heck no.
No, we got three. We got 3/8 of hits here. Um, I thought the spelling, the typo was wonderful, Icarus. So you can't even ground your AI created thumbnails. Bite me, Icarus. Anyway, but I like the eighth of tits part. I think that's what we should call ourselves from now on. So, yep. How you doing? How you doing?
Doing good here. How's everybody else? I guess your guest was in a storm area earlier.
Yeah, he's down somewhere in the southwest, I think, and he had some weather, and his Wi-Fi wasn't working when we were supposed to go live. So I'm guessing, hoping he'll get back to me and we can do it tomorrow. Because I really want it. I'm, I think it's either going to be boring or very short, or it's going to turn into something interesting. And I'm letting him run the thing because he is the pro street epistemologist, and it's sound epistemology. And again, everybody should subscribe to his channel and get him going, because he goes around the country and he talks to people about their beliefs. And his purpose is not to convert Christians to atheism. His purpose is to get people to learn how to think. Mm-hmm. And that's something that he's passionate about in his life and he wants to do. So, hey, Kevin, Trusty Ape is here, and Icarus, and who else we got here? Who else we got besides? Do we have anybody else? No. Oh, theology and philosophy discussions and debates. How unjustified faith ruins ethics. What a disaster. So let's just see how unjustified it is. So anyway, I was listening to Danny and a few people talk about Lance Independent and Nathan, I think. Nathan Ormond, is that who it was? Talk about morality and...
Yeah.
Huh?
Digital Gnosis, yeah, Nathan Ormond.
Yeah, okay. And philosophers, they start with a concept, and it goes downhill from there. And I do it. I have this different naive scientism method of doing philosophy that I always apply, and I didn't realize I was doing it until I started actually thinking about what I was doing. And my stuff is naive and it ruins all the fun. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. But there are some assumptions that I make in my thinking about anything, right? And the assumptions are naturalism. So I assume naturalism. And I can justify that by telling you that everybody assumes naturalism every day. Every minute of every day, we assume naturalism. Now, if your kids want to go to the park tomorrow and you tell them, oh, I can't plan to go to the park tomorrow because Hume pointed out the problem of induction, and we don't know if there's going to be such a thing as parks tomorrow. I mean, the universe could dissolve tomorrow, so we can't plan to go to the park, right? We don't do that. We don't tell our kids that we don't tell our kids about Hume's problem of induction. That, oh, just because there's parks today doesn't mean there's going to be parks tomorrow. Little Johnny. And little Johnny, with a tear in his eye, walks away and goes to his room. Does that make sense to you? Ruining all the fun, right? So what do you think about my assumption that everybody uses naturalism and induction every day of their lives? Have I made a crazy assumption, unjustified assumption? I don't think so.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Induction works. So, we have to trust that. In fact, as soon as it quits working, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. Oh, some famous senator said that, right? We're all going to die. Who was she?
Yeah, but then she invited us to have a relationship with Jesus after that. So
I know.
So that makes it better. That makes her more credible. That makes her a better human being. And worthy leader.
Yep. So then we have a problem of, we're going to talk about the problem of morality, grounding morality, and whether morality is objective. Is it something real out there? Is it basically what is morality? And so we have, I'll tell you what it is. It's a word. It's a word that it encompasses a concept, right? That we all have and that we use, and we've learned how to use that word. But then when we start talking about, is it a thing? Well, that's where my scientism comes in. So yeah, he never argued against induction or that induction is problematic or that we shouldn't. He merely pointed out that induction, unjustifiable. What do you mean by unjustifiable? I mean, there you go. There's another word, unjustifiable. Am I justified in taking little John, planning to take little Johnny to the park tomorrow? I think I am, because I think parks are going to exist tomorrow. I think the sun is going to rise tomorrow. I mean, what do you want for justification? So he meant that basically what we're looking at in the universe is we're not looking at causality, we're looking at structure. We're looking at regularity. So we're seeing regularity in the universe, and we assume the regularity is going to persist. I think that is proper justification. So philosophers have an idea about justification that is unachievable, basically. You end up in circles, you end up in loops. So whatever you assume, naturalism, whatever, you end up in loops. I think the bar is too high for philosophers. It's a concept of something is what? Okay, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, Leo? Unjustifiable if the concept.
There's unjustified, and then there's unjustifiable. Perhaps it's able to be justified, but you haven't done that, or if it
unjustified,
justified, therefore it's unjustifiable. If there's no capability for justifying, no potential.
Well, how would you justify that in the stronger sense of the word justify? I think I'm justified because the sun has risen every day since I've been born, and I think that's justification enough to assume that it's going to rise tomorrow. I mean, what would real justification look like for the sun rising? Isn't applicable to some other concept. Concept of justification isn't applicable to some other concept. Yeah, it's pretty deep. Unfalsifiable is a word, not unjustified. I thought unjustified was when they canceled the series Justified. That's what I always thought. Anyway.
Yeah, the writing had gotten a little weak.
Yeah.
If I recall. Yeah, these shows, they're great at first, but then they just kind of lose their steam because they don't really know where they're going.
Yeah. Well, I thought the last season was decent. I don't know. The second season was a work of art. Not unjustified. Skeptic philosophy, unfalsifiable. So anyway, I think you come up with a word, morality, which encompasses a whole hell of a lot about our lives, right? Morality. So it's like a big suitcase word, and then you try to figure out whether or not it's objective or not, or subjective. And there's a false dichotomy, right? Subjective, objective is a binary that people often use, and I deny that dichotomy entirely. Let's see, not same kind. Induction is unjustifiable, not unfalsifiable. Okay. How would you falsify induction? I don't know. Not sure. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 would be 2,500. I don't know. I'm not sure how you falsify that.
Well, I think the whole idea is that you can falsify your position. If you're using induction, you're always in danger of it being falsified should we find a bunny rabbit in the Cambrian layer in geological formations, or if we say there's only white swans, and lo and behold, here's a family of black swans, and it's not, you know. So that's the thing about induction is it seems sound. Your premises seemed unassailable, but it only takes one event to bring that to a halt, unless, of course, you convert to using probabilistic kind of thinking, to where even an exception really doesn't disprove what you're saying. So,
yep. Okay, so my complaint about philosophy is that they'll come up with morality, or they'll come up with the word moral, and then the first thing they'll ask is, how do you define that? Well, if you ask how you define that, you know, if you come up with this word, you're still within the realm of language. And so we're trying to understand something about reality, right? About what exists. And we're staying in this like repetitive loop of language. So no matter how many definitions you come up with, you're still dealing with language, and hence you're dealing with human, and you're not really going to get anywhere that way. So I use my naturalism and I go to scientism basically, and I come up with, like, okay, what if we wanted to figure out what running is? Is running objective or is it subjective? So if there were no human beings on the earth, would there still be running? Yes, there would be elephants. Okay. So we're looking at, instead of morality, we're looking at running, because I'm going to make the case that morality is very similar to running. What do you think of that, you two? Smarty pants.
I don't know if you're. I just experienced you roboting a big bunch, so I don't know if that was just me and my connection, or.
How about you, Dave? Dave? Did I robot Dave? Dave's muted.
I'm hearing it all right.
Okay, so it's just
okay. So yeah, good. Okay, so running basically. Okay, we're going to decide if running exists in the world, if it's an ontological thing, right? How is a symbol morality is a normative prescriptive system evaluation? Running is a physical right, and so is morality, Leo. So basically, running depends on where the hell are we here? Okay, running is going to depend on. Oh my God, what did you do? What is it? Every time I click, it goes to erase. Okay, so running depends on the kind of organism you are. So the kind of organism you are would be how you run, right? And it also depends, as a subset of that, on the kind of person you are. Did it again. Fucking stop it. So the kind of person you are, or the kind of individual you are, right? Like individuals who have a spinal injury, you know, running is going to be different for them, right? Isn't going to happen. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe it will. People that are old are going to run a little slower, right? So in that sense, it's kind of subjective. It kind of depends on who you are within the kind of organism that you are. So a horse running, galloping, is going to be a lot different than a cat running or than a human running, right? So we have these different things that animals are doing called running. And we also do a thing called morality, basically. So I would make the case that morality is something that is generative, that we do in the moment. Okay, we make moral choices in the moment. Any pushback on that? Isn't a physical process that emerges from neurophysical process? But yeah, you're going too far. You see, Leo, I'm going way reductive on this stuff, so I'm going way back. So morality is, when you think about it, what does it mean to us? If you look at all the cases of humans and their discussions of morality, what is the thread that runs through it all? And I think it would be making a decision about doing A or B. So we're going to decide on A or B, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, I think it would A, B, or C because it can affect you or others.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm talking about what we decide to do. Like,
right,
should I hit
that
you with a hammer?
That affects you, you know, whether you go to jail or not, or whether you have to live with it or not.
Right. Okay.
And then the person also involved that you wronged or righted or however it was affected to that other person.
Yeah. Okay. So we're doing something to another person, and we have a effect here, effect prime, and effect prime prime on what's happening to the other person, right? Yeah. Oh, Scott, you got a thing in front of my thing. Okay, so that goes a little bit. I'm talking about making a choice between an action A, an action B, an action C. Do I hit you with the hammer or not? You know, so A or B.
Are you David Wood?
Yes. Oh, you know his name, man. Yeah.
I was just talking about, I was like, look, I mean, you know, the dude had problems, serious problems. He has to be on meds to function in society. But this is not the person you should listen to. I'm just,
no.
I don't know why so many people listen to him and nothing, you know, I'm glad he's on medication and everything, but there is something seriously wrong in his brain. And I don't know why anybody would listen to him. I mean, you know, sympathy and all that is fine, but the dude is not wired right. You know?
Yeah. So JG wants to come in later. What do you think, Scott? Think it's worth it? You think he'll just run around in circles? And yeah, I guess if just one of us talk to him, it might be okay. So wait around. I'll let you in.
He's been all right when he came on. I mean, you know.
Well, but he tends to run around in circles and not answer questions. He just likes to ask them. Morality is like digestion. That's what that's my claim. And I know it spoils it for you philosophers. You want to get all fucking way out there about it, but all moral acts are acts. And what is an act for an organism like a human? It is doing something. Okay. The difference with humans and say jellyfish is that we sit around and cogitate a little bit before we act. So we have this thing where we got to decide, is this the right thing to do? Is this what mommy taught me? Is this what God says I should do? So we got all these other things that we bring into it. But at a very basic level, all organisms that can act have some sort of moral decision to make. Though most jellyfish are not going to sit around and waste much time trying to figure out what to eat, right? They're going to, should I be a vegan or should I eat the animal? Whatever.
How many calories does it have? How many carbs does it have? How many sugars? How much salt?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't eat this. Oh.
Yeah. I'm a digestion realist. I am a digestion realist. Here, I want to put Icarus's comment up. So basically, this thing called morality actually exists when you have an animal, just like running exists when you have an animal. But can we say that it's objective? Well, when we say that a moral is objective, we want to know if things like good exist out there in the universe without humans, without animals. Do things like running exist out there in the universe without animals? I don't think so. So I'm guessing that morality is going to fall under the same analysis. It's not going to exist out there unless we have some sort of animal, right? And we could talk about morality among raccoons. Raccoons, when they're in a pack, they have to behave a certain way. They can't be overly aggressive. They can't kill each other. Otherwise, the pack dynamics will be, they won't survive, basically. They do run in packs, amazingly. So basically, morality comes into play for humans in a very complicated way. So I'm taking this reduction where I'm talking about two different organisms eating each other or whatever, one-celled organisms, and I'm going all the way up and I'm constructing on top of my reduction until we get to humans. And then if we look at humans in this framework of, okay, morality is all about action. It's about taking an action. And then start to look at, okay, now not killing one another seems to be an action that even raccoons respect, right? So that seems to be something that all humans have. And then we have other things like not having an abortion, right? Which is a subset of humans. So for that particular one, there seems to be something subjective going on. Scott, will you push back or something? So, we could almost say that, and we're not going to talk about babies. Please don't talk about babies. Pineapple on pizza, right? Seems to be kind of a thing that, a very small subset of people would want. Pineapples on pizza are just wrong to me. It stinks, it smells, it's horrible. Nobody should do it. I judge you if you do it.
I'll push back on that for sure. I enjoy pineapple with certain other toppings on a pizza. I see nothing wrong with it. In fact, it could just be that you've just had somebody that did not properly cook the pizza with regard to the pineapple. There's my.
I disagree. Only pork goes on pizza.
Oh, okay. Only pork. Bacon, right? Only bacon. Yeah.
Bacon, ham, and pepperonis.
Sausage.
Sausage.
Yeah. I tell you what, the pineapple with Canadian bacon is just it's a match made in heaven.
Oh, but breakfast bacon is so much better. It's so much saltier and juicier.
Well, I love pineapple on a ham. I mean, if I make a ham, I put the pineapple slices on it. It's delicious, but it's like veggies on pizza. It makes it there's too much moisture and everything's too wet, I think, for me. Anyways, but again, though, people like all different kind of things, and I'm one I would never ruin somebody's feast, right? The same way I don't want somebody else to say, ew, why do you like that? Hey, don't ruin my feast, right? So we can discuss it now, but when you're enjoying your feast, whatever it is, don't ruin somebody's feast, because for some folks, you make a special dish or whatever, and even if nobody else likes it, it's like a special event to you, So don't be a buzzkill. That's all.
So the other complaint I have about philosophy is they frequently put everything into one bag, like all moral behavior, and they'll talk about abortion as being the same kind of thing as not killing one another, right? And every single moral choice you make is based on a whole different sets of contexts and requirements and upbringing and just tons of other things. You can't compare one thing to another thing. You have to look at the specific example of the moral action you're talking about. That is my claim, that philosophers make that mistake. They start talking about and then the idea of goodness. I mean, goodness is a word we have that points to a concept that we tend to know. We think we know what we're talking about, but what the hell are we really talking about? Who is a good person? Who is a bad person? You know, is a good person somebody who refuses to fire at the opposing warring team when they're down in the trenches? Absolutely refuses. It's going to vary depending on the context. And overall, everybody has a bit of good in their lives and a bit of bad. We've all done things that we regret, and all of this. I mean, it's just a complicated mess. So when you're talking about morality, you're talking about our behavior in a pack, basically, in a group of people. And so from that grounds, if you look at it as an action by an organism, and we are that organism, and we are an organism that can think about things and make decisions, plan future things, all of that, then I think the whole subject becomes a lot simpler. And you realize that some morality has a very real basis in the kind of organism we are, and some morality has a real basis in the kind of person we are. So from what species we are to what individual we are, there's like this gradient, right? And a lot of that, like we are a certain kind of organism, and we grow up in a family, in a social group, and there's an interaction that goes on between what we are and what is presented to us in the environment that shapes what we become. So whether we become a good person or a bad person, it's going to be affected by both those things. Now, even bad people aren't running around like Tasmanian devils, freaking out on beating people up all the time, right? Even really, really bad people will suppress a lot of that activity because of the kind of organism they are. You don't have enough energy to be a Tasmanian devil or whatever. So anyway.
That's the big mouths where yeah, they'll talk a lot, but it's like you aren't really doing things like, attacking your neighbors or stuff like that, right?
Right.
If my neighbor did this, this and this, and it's like, yeah. It's like I had a lot of those thoughts too with my neighbor problems, but you just don't do those things. Yeah. You know what I mean? You think about it, but it's like, man, I'd sure like to, but then you're like, well, first of all, yeah, you're probably going to go to jail. You're going to have to deal with it. And then are you the better person, for if you've got a shitty neighbor and then you're being shitty, well, then now you're shitty too, right? Everybody shitty.
So modern pizza. Okay. So what was a pizza before tomatoes came to Europe? That's what I want to know. Because these Italians think they made pizza. They invented it. Well, over here in the America, we invented tomatoes. Sorry.
They didn't invent pasta. They didn't invent pasta either. The Chinese did. So, but that's all good. You borrowed it. You put some sauce and cheese on there, and I love it. So good for you.
Cheese and dates. Okay, so that's where it came from. Nymphium.
Yeah, I've got
Nymphium.
I have some bread dough rising right now. I'm going to have pizza subs for dinner, and it's a tough choice. I mean, I like pizza subs almost as much as I like pizza. It's they're both delicious. So, hey Ryan, how you doing? Ryan's joining us in the chat.
So you see the problem with my philosophy is that the discussion ends almost immediately. What else can you say about this? What else do you want to know about morality? Other than, it's generated in the moment. Well, let's go take a look at what.
I think overall and generally speaking, there is an objective morals. However, there's always exceptions. Well, there's always exceptions. Well, like not unaliving somebody, right? But there are exceptions. There's self-defense. Things like that.
What if
not
aliens?
Stealing. Well, not stealing, but if Elon's hoarding all the food, there comes a point, well, we've seen it in Gaza where these people don't even care if guns are pointed at them. They want the food in the warehouse, right? So is it wrong to steal it? I wouldn't say so. I mean, that's your will to live, your whole biological drive and everything kicks in to survive, and you need food. So and then it's on the other one for withholding the food. That's what I said earlier. It's not just how it affects you. It's everybody else, because you have the people withholding the food and the people not getting the food. And then, are both of them wrong? Are both of them right? That's like a philosophical argument. But I would say objectively, if you're withholding food, it's wrong.
So what do you mean by objective? The sense you're using it in, you mean all humans. Okay.
I look at objective morals like 99%, right? It's objective almost always, except, right? There always seems to be an exception to the rule.
Well, what if I arrive on the planet, I'm an alien, and there are no humans? Nothing's alive. It's a dead planet. So in what sense do you mean objective? You mean all humans, right? You're talking about all human beings.
I would say all life, as you were saying before, because, again, if all the raccoons start attacking each other, there's not going to be any raccoons. And then that goes against that whole biological drive to survive. So
if the
raccoons don't like each other, and even if the other raccoon's taking your food, there comes a point where you need that other raccoon, if nothing else, to reproduce. So there's always, no matter how bad let's just say raccoons are the worst species on the planet. They're ultimately, though, they have to say, but we still need to reproduce, So there's always that exception that let's say that raccoons are so awful, we would be better off without them. But to the raccoon, they have to survive.
So we're looking at something concentric here, right? So we're looking at we got to take this down. So we're looking at all humans, okay, and we can say something about all humans wouldn't steal, right? Or stealing is bad for all humans. And then for all mammals, well, stealing becomes more subjective, less objective, right? Stealing might help you survive if you steal from the raccoon next to you, but stealing may end up getting you beat up, so that would be a problem. So for mammals, but then in another outer loop we have all life. So now we're talking about crustaceans, we're talking about insects, we're talking how does morality play out on them? And so we have all life on the planet, right? And then out here we have all life in the universe, all possible kinds of life that there are. And I think morality gets pretty fuzzy as you move out here, right? It could be a kind of life.
I just saw a video where the whatever they were, some kind of small little deer, antelope or something. One of them was in the water, and the elephant grabbed it by the antlers and helped it get out of the water.
Oh yeah.
Now what good did it do the elephant? The elephant doesn't even eat meat, right? So it's not like it was saving it so it could eat it another day or anything like that. It just saw this animal struggling. Yeah. And it said, hey, if that was me, I'd want, this big old elephant to reach in with its trunk and help me out. And that's what the elephant did. But what good does it do the elephant? I don't see any good that it does the elephant other than something in the elephant biologically is sending the message, that somebody else is struggling. And if I was struggling, is somebody going to help me? So but in the overall picture, though, it didn't matter. That elephant could have just walked on by. It wouldn't have changed anything about that elephant's life other than there must be something in its brain going on that's saying, hey, you can reach in there and pluck this thing out of the water.
Yeah, but and there are there are people that catch spiders and bring them outside and let them free, right? But are there any spiders that if they were bigger than us, they would catch us, put us in a glass, and bring us outside and set us free?
That's one of those things, we don't know because of the lack of communication between species.
Yeah, I'm guessing a spider would just eat us. He would drain the fluids out of our body and call
that's
it
one
dinner,
of the things
right?
I found interesting when they talked about why we want to hope that there's alien life out there, because we don't have anybody else to talk to but humans, right? All we have is a human perspective. We don't have the spider's perspective or the elephant's perspective, right? So an alien's coming here from another world would give us, somebody else to talk to about these different big so-called perspectives.
Yeah, and there are forms of life here, but imagine an alien life where the only way that they can reproduce is if they kill their mate. They have to kill another alien in order to reproduce. So their whole thing would be about raising crops of potential mates and then killing them to mate with them. So, I mean, that's like a black widow spider, right? So that's a possibility. So that would be a different kind of morality than we're used to. And so you can't say that killing another member of your own species is always objectively wrong, because there could be a kind of species where it's objectively right, where it's considered
except up to the point of reproduction, though. You can't do it before reproduction. It has to be after. So you still have to tolerate the very thing you're gonna unalive and eat or morph into you, as some of these species do. You're giving up everything, but before that, though, you can't just go around and kill all your mates, because then you won't have any mates. You have to wait until you mate. So there's that, so I say there's always that exception to the rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what if it's alien life, right? And these are the purple dots. These are the things basically that exist on the planet. And then there's another kind of life, which are green dots. And these green dots are going to be like plant-like things, but they can crawl around and move, right? Mm-hmm. But now the alien life has to consume food. Okay, so it can consume another of its own kind, or it can consume one of these plants. But what if the plants evolved in a separate system, and their DNA and amino acids and everything, none of them were similar to ours? So these could not sustain themselves in any other way but eating each other. So they had to eat each other. Like one alien would have to eat like two aliens to produce 4 offspring. Okay, and that's how they survived. So I mean, there is, in that colony, it would be objectively right to eat others and it reproduced not with another person, or not with another alien, but it reproduced by itself. So if it ate 2 of its conspecifics, right? It ate 2 of those, then it could divide and produce 4 offspring. So in that world, what would be the objective nature of killing another? It would be considered a good thing. It would be something that they do, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's going way the fuck out there, right?
Yeah, but then you would hope, though, that you could get to a point like where they try to compare us to other animals. It's like, yeah, but we've reached the point where we can decide, say, not to eat meat, right? Because we can put a diet together that gives us all the nutrients we need without having to eat meat. So then the survivability thing would come in on, I guess, to an evolution point, right? You can't hold it against, say, a bacteria that eats other bacteria, but we can hold it against people that would have other people for dinner, because it becomes an an unnecessary thing where it's necessary for this species, it's not necessary for us.
Yeah, but it would be necessary for the species to
But it
eat
would be
others of
necessary
its
for
own
them.
kind. Right.
Yeah, so you can't
And
judge them. Right.
And suppose their lives had like, they were just miserable until they reproduced and died. So right after they reproduced and created 4 organisms, they got to die, and it was sort of a wonderful thing. So whether you died by reproducing or died by eating, so they would have this thing where it would be better. It would be a good thing to die after reproduction naturally, rather than die by getting eaten by somebody else, so they'd have competition. So you can imagine that they would look at all of this very differently. They would see us trying not to kill each other, and they would say, "Oh, you bastards, you evil son of a bitches! You're just evil. You're not. You don't have our moral platform, right?"
Like
But it's something
salmon.
to think about.
Salmon give their all literally to reproduce. Well, the ones that go upstream,
Right.
anyways.
Yeah, they die to reproduce.
Yeah. Now the ones that don't do that, now see, they don't have to die, right? They can reproduce.
Yeah.
The ones that the other species, but certain species, yeah, they will literally, beat themselves up and everything, to get upstream to reproduce, because that's what they have to do. But then again, you've got other species that don't have to do that. So would it mean that the other species has to expire to reproduce? No, because they found a way to not do it. So you can't judge that species for what it has to do to live and reproduce. That comes in, the morals would come in where it's a choice. Again, we have a choice to eat meat or not. Now, I'm not picking on meat eaters or vegans, right? It's a complicated issue, but it just becomes where we have a choice. Other species, they don't have a choice.
Well, I think eating steak is a wonderful and moral thing to do, because I know if we didn't, there would be far fewer cows in the world, and they would probably be an endangered species. There'd be a few of them left in zoos, but none of them would survive in the wild, and there wouldn't be any cows, and I happen to like cows. So eating cows makes the possibility of there to be billions of cows. I think we have like more than 1 billion in the United States alone. I'm not sure about that. But I mean,
that's one
imagine
of the
a world
arguments.
without cows.
They wouldn't have all been raised if they weren't for food in the first place.
Right.
It's the same argument they used for the fur industry and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not. I don't see where it's invalid. I don't see where it's an invalid argument. You're creating more life on the planet, but then when it comes to how we treat them before we eat them, that's a whole different matter. There's the way we treat cattle in this country is really bad, and the fucking price of beef is high anyway. So, like, they were afraid that if we treated our animals well, the price of beef would go above $3 a pound. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? You can't buy a decent steak for less than 20 a pound. Yeah.
I do agree that if an animal's going to give its all for you to survive as your dinner, you should treat it well. I mean, it's giving its all for you, I mean, I don't think it's too much to ask them to, to be able to roam free and eat some grass and see the sun and all that before they become dinner.
Yeah. Anyway, so recapping, basically I have this scientistic view, and what I do is I assume naturalism, and then I try to decide, what is this thing if I am an alien looking at myself as if I'm just an organism on the planet? And I take all of the philosophical problems and try to take them out of the language realm and get them into the reality realm and find out what it really is. And morality is definitely about how organisms act. And truth is about how organisms act. Like, if I think there's a ham sandwich waiting for me in the refrigerator, I will scurry up to get it. If it's not there, it'll be a false proposition. Propositions are about acting. Everything we do is about how we act, about this action thing that we do all of our lives. And if you first look at philosophical concepts like that, everything else falls in line and it's very simple. And you can decide whether it's subjective. Like when the Christians say we're subjective, what they mean is that, oh, I just feel like doing this today, man. Like I feel like going out and killing people. It's like, no, that's not what subjective means. Subjective means something a human would do, right? Or something a mammal would do. And subjective also has these circles that I talked about. So all that shit, all of these wars in philosophy, I think, fall into this simple treatment. Is Scott still with us? I can't tell because I've got the.
There's 84.7 million head of cattle in the United States, according to a January 31st.
Oh, is that all?
USDA report. However, it shows a stark decrease from like the year 2000 in the number of head of cattle in the U.S. So I would have to look and see if the reporting has missed some things or lost some things over the last few years. Like maybe there's still
not surprising at all. So what they're doing is they're reducing the market and they keep raising the price to make up their profit. And so they have less cattle and less people buying them, right? And they're going to keep jacking up the price until it gets to the point where nobody fucking wants it anymore. And then they're really going to have a problem. But this is just pure greed among people. They raised the price in 2020 in the pandemic, over the course of the pandemic. And then the motherfuckers never lowered it again when supply came back. And so they reduced the number of cattle they have because they don't need that many to make money anymore. So
I was just talking about that somebody was saying, oh, prices have only gone up 3%. It's not that bad. It's like it's gone up 3% on top of being jacked up during the pandemic. So it's not just the 3% they're trying to float around where it's not that bad. It's like you just said, they jacked the prices up and then never brought them down. So it's 3% on top of that the costs are actually up.
Yeah, you can't fix prices. You've got to come up with some sort of regulation that's somewhere in between fixing prices and price gouging. And price gouging is a fucking problem. But overall, it's going to even out. I used to eat steak a hell of a lot more often than I'm eating it now. I refuse to pay that much for a goddamn tough old chunk of beef. I mean, I prefer to save. Like I saved up and I bought a $50 steak. It was fucking awesome. It was a 2-pound porterhouse, and it was so tender, and it was so worth $50. But I'm buying that was the only steak I'd had that month, and I used to eat steak 3 times a week. So fuck them all. Take that, you capitalist pigs. Oh, let's see.
I do like a good steak. Of course, nothing like being on the grill. I had that's what we had for dinner last night. We had some little petite steaks. It turned out really good.
God, I think I'm gonna go buy a steak today. Yeah, all this talk of steaks has got me. So the shaken fist, I think, is a little bit leaning to the right. Jacking up from COVID, which didn't.
No, he's saying 3%. Yeah, it's the same thing that I said. Yeah, they're saying, oh, it's not that bad. Prices are only up 3%, and it's like, no, they're 3% on top of being jacked up from COVID. Yeah,
steaks are like 4 times as much as they used to be. 3 or 4. They're more expensive than almost as expensive as lobster and crab. I mean, Christ.
Well, somebody just had what looked like a lunch. They went to the store and they had like bread, lunch meat, and a 6-pack of pop or something like that. $30 for basically a lunch from the store.
Yeah,
It's 30
yeah,
bucks.
Trump says price of gas is down around $2 a gallon. Where? It's not here. It's $4 a gallon, $3.89. I don't quite understand what.
There was a cartoon about it. They're saying Trump is so great while he's standing there at the pump with the pump saying right on it, $3.60 a gallon. Oh,
yeah.
I'm only paying $1.98 or whatever. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
if
right.
that's really what you think, and you don't bother looking at it and your receipt that you signed or anything else. What? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so Scott, what I'm trying to present, Scott and Dave, is this reductive idea of philosophy, and it's reductive. But you first of all reduce it to something about the field we're talking about. We're always talking about humans, so we're organisms. So what are Homo sapiens basically? How do they relate to the thing? And then what you do after you come up with this very reductive idea is you start to construct and add in the things that we want to talk about with humans, right? So we reduce truth down to an organism moving to or away from some object, right? Or moving towards something and either guessing right or guessing wrong. That's truth. But then when you get into humans, truth becomes a much more complicated thing. So you have to construct, but you always stay true to your stem reduction, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and where do objective morals come from, though? It's mostly from the religious side that says they have objective morals, but yet in their own texts, it'll show that they're subjective on the whims of Yahweh. Don't do this one day, but today I'm going to command that you do it, and if you don't do it, you're going to be punished.
Yeah, it depends on how you're defining subjective. They're saying that Yahweh is nature, basically. Oh no, he's a mean motherfucker. He's just mean asshole, basically. He's just
it depends on the day.
Blah. So
yeah, it depends on the day. You can read something in the Bible. It's like, wow, God helped these people and gave them food and everything, and then you flip a few pages and then, oh wait, God's having
killing them, right? Yeah. So it seems like it's on his whim, or read the Noah flood, fucking Noah and flood story. Talk about kind of subjective, It's like, well, I'm not going to kill people unless they piss me off, unless their little wieners end up in the wrong spot, Then I'm going to kill them all.
And he tolerated it for how long, right? But then one day it was like, okay, that's enough.
That's enough. I've had it. It's kind of like
everybody out.
It's kind of like me with my cats. I'm just like, fuck it, I've had enough. I'm not petting you anymore. I'm not playing multi with you. I'm not playing laser with you. Get out of here. Then I get the vacuum out and start it up, and I get a 5-minute break after that. If I leave the vacuum on,
they paid $5 for gas. I never really paid much attention because
it depends on where you are in the country.
You need gas, But I've been paying attention just because I was looking for the half price on energy costs that Orange Man promised, and I didn't see it. I paid attention to the sign and everything when I got gas last, and I just don't see it. So maybe I need new glasses or something, but the numbers read 369 to me. So
yeah. So I think they try to get around that problem of God being subjective by saying it is the nature of God to do morality in a certain way, but they shoot themselves in the foot because it is the nature of humans to live in peace with each other. It's built into our very nature. It's built into our endocrine system. It's built into our muscles. It's built into everything about us that we live together peacefully. And they're saying that it is the structure of God that creates morality, God's morality, and it's objective because of that. Well, it is the structure of humans But the thing is, not all morals are based on that human structure. Some things are based more on our culture, on our history, on our upbringing. So I mean, it's like you can't say all morality is this way or that way, because it's different depending on what kind of morality you're talking about. Who's a
And
shaking
we
fist?
and we can see examples. Different cultures have different morals. It's
They
there's
talk of
there's not a
objective
there's not
morals.
a
Yeah.
universal moral. Yeah.
Yeah, shaking fists, they talk of objective morals because they think their personal morals are the objective ones. That's why,
Yeah.
yeah, and that becomes a reason to go out and hit another person over the head because their morals aren't as good as mine. That's why the Bible don't matter, because the Bible always agrees with them no matter what.
Well,
Anyway,
the voice in your
good
head
one.
says, "Pick up a hammer and come up behind your father." Who's to say you're not wired right and there's something wrong in your head, or was it one of these gods or angels or whatever it is, they're the Holy Spirit whispering in your head? Abraham took his son up on a hill, uh, fully ready to sacrifice him because the voices in his head said so. Now,
Yeah,
if anybody else would do that, we would say, what kind of moral monster are you? But it goes out the window if they think the voice in their head is just in telling them so.
yep.
And then you've got to say, you know what? I don't think you're wired quite right. When you would think that it's a good idea to sacrifice your son. It
Well, this
seems
woman
that
in Texas did it right with
yeah,
her kids, and because
yeah,
God
and
told her to, and didn't they execute her?
I'm pretty sure she's locked up in a
Yeah,
psychiatric facility or something like that. But
there was one here in
either way,
Minnesota that.
yeah, it's a crime. A society sees that as a crime. They don't care that the voices in your head told you to, while a big chunk of the society also follows a book that is full of people doing things because the voices in their head told them to, and that's okay if it's Yahweh that's the voice in your head. But who's to
Yeah.
know, right? Who's to know
Yep.
that Yahweh didn't tell her to either give the kids a bath, or the one that drove the car into a lake or whatever? Yeah, so when you put that perspective in, then you've got a new way to look at, maybe these people in these stories weren't wired right either, and we
Yeah,
shouldn't
they're
be
doing the
listening
same
to
thing.
them any more than David would, because they're not wired right.
Yeah. So Shaken Fist brought up something really important, and that is the out group. We don't care about the out group. We don't care about stepping on spiders. We don't care about other, basically continents, other nations. We don't care about people outside of our community, and then people outside of our family. We have all of these concentric circles where we care more and more. Like, how many cousins would you trade for a brother? I think it's two. Two cousins equals one brother. Okay, and how many second cousins? Well, four. So it's basically how much of their
and that
DNA
and
do I
that's
have?
part of our that's part of our biology as being a social species. We do what's best for the group. That other group
Right.
isn't important because we're worried about our group. So yeah,
But
screw that
here's the
other
fucking
group,
thing.
right?
Here's the fucking thing. It is what is it? The 21st century? 21st century, and we humans have
It
been around
is.
for a long time. And right now, I can basically start a Zoom call and talk to Simos in the UK, or I can talk to somebody in Denmark or Saudi Arabia or whatever, and we're communicating, we're getting to know each other, and we are taking our out group and we're trying to extend it. Us liberals, us leftist assholes, we want to extend this to the entire human race, right? And maybe beyond. We want to extend it to chimpanzees. So we're changing as a culture to allow for more and more of those out groups, and to be more thoughtful when we're dealing with out groups, right? And that's just what our culture is doing in the 21st century, or at least we were until the last election. Now it's gotten crazy again. So anyway, yeah, we like
Well,
to kill.
and there was a time where it was seen so-called morally okay if you assaulted somebody for reproduction, right? And then they'll say, "Oh, what we're supposed to act like early humans, where they just took somebody and drug them back to the cave, so to speak." Well, that was how it was, but that's again with the evolution thing. We don't have to do that anymore. So now we have a decision in it, where back then it was a matter of survival. Now we see survival as you should ask first, you should court, you should have consent, you should have marriage. We added all these things to it. But can you hold it against early man for doing it? No, I would say they were reproductive drive.
Yeah, I just figured out we can say fucking chat, and it doesn't cut it out. So interesting. Oh, he's Irish. Shaking Fist is Irish. I see. What the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about?
Shaking Fist is American.
Fucking Irishman.
He moved over to the UK, but he's American.
American. Okay, American.
He's originally American.
Good. Good American. So what do you think? You want to wrap her up, or you want to invite Scott, Dave?
Well, I don't want to go past 4, so I guess.
Okay. So
give out people in
half an hour.
I'll be leaving at 4.
Yeah, I'll be leaving at 4 too, everyone. So anyway, I'll be leaving at 4.
Well, you got 33 minutes, folks.
Yeah. So what do you think of my bullshit ideas about philosophy, Scott?
They're yours, and I respect them, and I give you a patient and good hearing.
Yeah, is that all you think? Well, that's pretty fucking political of you. Fuck you. Don't you think they're naive?
You can't have 100% subjective or objective. There's always exceptions to the rule. And
it seems to me the idea of objective versus subjective really is a misleading discussion, because you're just merely talking about where moral facts reside.
Right, and
kind of under what it doesn't really talk about the truth or falsity of those positions, because you can have a true relative moral fact, and you can have true I said relative, true subjective moral fact, and you can have a true objective moral fact. So I just don't see what use we get out of declaring objective versus subjective. That's part of the analytical, that kind of sets the foundation for what we say that we understand about morality, but it doesn't get to the truthity of them. I don't think.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Yep. Can you repeat your question, please?
What was the question?
The statement you were saying right before I started talking. I didn't fully get it.
I think Scott was saying it, right? Is that Scott or me?
Okay, yeah, it was Scott.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I was just giving an opinion. I didn't have a question.
Okay.
My observation is that objective moral facts and subjective moral facts are about kind of where they reside and maybe the nature of their existence. It doesn't really talk about the truth or falseness of those moral facts. It's like how do they exist, or where do they exist? Some people think that moral facts exist in some special dimension of reality. Others
Platonism,
and others think that they are constructed by society and the observers and the people who struggle with those issues. So it's just a matter of where they reside there, but you have to get into do other work in order to determine the truth or falseness of those facts.
Okay.
I guess
So
sorry. I guess when I say facts, I mean
no,
assertions or
I get
claims, because the fact, if it's a fact, it's true. I
Yeah.
think so.
I get what you're saying. There's a difference between Newtonian and a Darwinian truth. As if you're using the definition of Darwinian, you have a problem and you have a solution, and you try to apply that solution to the problem. If your problem does not work and you make a new solution and that time it works, it means that it's more true or truer than the one you had before. The problem we have here is that we are social animals. We are animals, and the fact that basically we're just like bacteria, just trying to live, reproduce, and so grow. We're an infection, if you want to say that way.
Good. I like it.
And
And
and our only goal is to satisfy this beastly desire to continue the species, because that's what animals want to do because of evolution. And so to satisfy this need to keep evolving, keep reproducing, we made ourselves into a social animal. And to be a social animal, we had to develop empathy, so that I can scratch your back and you scratch my back, right? That makes sense. And so the morality in this is that morality is just the plain written rules of scratching each other's back. I'm not going to kill you because I don't want you to kill me. I'm not going to kill you in advance, although you might have lower morals than me, because even if you might have, I don't know, and therefore preemptively defending myself doesn't help anyone, because you might try to do that believing that I also am going to try to kill you. And same thing as for sharing resources. If I have a lot of bread and you don't have any bread, the moment that I don't have any bread, I sure hope that you're going to share your bread with me. That makes sense, right?
yeah, that's why shaking hands evolved. Basically, coming up to each other carefully and figuring out whether or not we're going to kill each other.
Yep. And that's why we evolved as a tribal animal, because even though in our tribe, we know that everyone has at least sharing morals, we don't know whether the other tribe has the same morals as us and therefore is going to attack us.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you have to approach them slowly and figure that out, right?
Yep.
And
exactly.
that's part of why that was probably a lot of the impetus of creating language. So we could yell across the thing, "Hey, you understand me?" It's like, are we okay? Are we good?
Then, and both tribes are doing their best to survive, even though they might work against each other for that survival. It's what's again tribal for their own group, so the morals can shift, even though you would not, steal or harm or whatever in the group. The other group, though, is maybe taking your food source or something, so it becomes a necessity. Whereas, again, today we have enough food, so you can't compare us with our ancestors or with other species, because it's so set up by the situation and the environment and everything else.
Right. And I think we would all agree to say that our ancestors, they had plenty of land to share and plenty of animals to kill. They didn't really need to kill each other to get all the foods in the world. I mean, although they were maybe constricted in some environments, they still could try to do something else than killing each other. That seems a little useless. The thing also with language and morality is that although you can talk the same language, you might not have the same moral values as someone else. For example, the story of the Tower of Babel, and where men tried to make a great tower to go to paradise all above. Wow. And so they denied God and just tried to get their way into heaven by making a great tower. They started ignoring God or the self or empathy in that sense. And so they turned back to their more primal instincts, which is different for everyone. And so they started not talking the same language because they didn't have the same moral values. They didn't value the same things. And so they stopped understanding each other. This would be a Darwinian explanation of Babel's story, and the explanation that is given by the Bible, actually the Old Testament, that is not the case. It was just God that stopped that. But the fact is, we create stories to explain morality, and these stories, they might be false. They still teach a lesson as to what morality is. If we stop having the same morality and same rules for everyone, then we stop understanding each other, and therefore we cannot communicate. Right?
Yep. Yeah.
And I think today we are again in the story of the Tower of Babel, because internet, although it allows us to communicate and talk the same language, English or whatever, we might not have the same values and same morals. You can see that we're very divided by politics and all that. And so although we don't have the same values, we still speak the same language. And so we do not understand each other.
We have some of the same values, like politeness, and that whole thing about approaching the other tribe, and basically it's like, okay, what do you think? And I mean, there are some things, there are some moral things where we disagree, like abortion, where it's not worth killing each other over, or taking over the government for. And we have to. I mean, morals have. They have a different strength or weight, right? Not killing each other is number one. I mean, that we all have to agree on, right? But could I ask where you're from?
I'm from Portugal, but I live in France.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you're using the reductive approach in the same way that I am, I think. Looking at it
that
as
we're all animals, and we're just trying to further our continuation with morals. Yes, basically. But I think that my biggest problem is that although I agree religion has brought a lot of pain, it is also a tool to give people morals. And the modern man forgot that with all its symbolisms and the silly stories of gods that doesn't exist, or maybe does, but either way that doesn't matter, because we cannot know. We only know that the morals given by these stories make sense. I mean, some don't. Right. If you look at the different religions, some have morals that don't make sense. They make sense in a more Darwinian way in the current year when it was established. But if you look in the long story of humanity, it kind of loses the point and gets corrupted or bad.
Well, usually they make sense to the one leader that is in control of all of them, and they start to do what the leader wants. Then the leader goes away, you get a new leader, but you keep on doing what you were doing before, because groups and churches especially have a tendency to just do what we've always done before, and that becomes the morality. We've always done it this way, so it's supposed to be done this way. You're not doing it this way, and it becomes a moral thing. It becomes an outrage thing, and all it was that
Yeah.
the dear leader came up with a generation ago.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
hope is that we're going to be less obsessed with the dogma and more obsessed with the message. Like I like the idea of the Adam and Eve story is sort of about humans acquiring this ability to understand that we're going to die someday, right? Most animals don't know that. And humans basically developing this further cortical cogitations so that we can actually sit down and say, hey, is this the right thing to do? You know, and I think the Adam and Eve story and the whole tree of whatever the hell that they ate the apple from, that, you know, suddenly led to the fall. Like that's when death was invented. Well, that's a metaphor for that was when we understood that we're going to die. That's when
Yeah.
it was invented, when we could see
I
death. So
I
there's a
also
lot of beauty in that.
yeah. I also want to add to the fact that the story of Adam and Eve, not only is it that, it's also the fact that when a person can become as intelligent as to make scenarios in its head, as to say, maybe if I do this in the future, this will happen to me. Then at that point of evolution or in development in early ages, if you look at a child, earlier he starts to lie, the actual smarter he is, because he's able to make a potential scenario, and although it might not be true, to lie to further his goals, as it could be imagination.
Yeah,
And so
well, that's good. Yeah.
when you have that sentience of knowledge by eating the apple of conscience, you also have this evil as to immorality that is added on top of that. Although you do have, well, if we're looking at this example, we also have the primal urges. We have both the shadow as to lie and further our goals, and the primal urges. We have a lot of different evil facets that we try to overcome, at least with more morality, to live in society.
Yeah,
I
all
don't know if
that
this
talk
makes
of the
sense.
flesh, basically, the flesh, you know, resisting the flesh. They're talking
Yeah.
about, you know, the basic, like I have to resist the flesh every day when I know there are cookies up there on the counter and I shouldn't be eating them. It's a
Ben
difficult
Shapiro
job.
said, I have to resist having encounters with dozens of women a day or something like that. And somebody was like, oh, you have such control that you don't have a harem flocking around you, little Ben. You know what I mean? It's like, he thinks mighty high of himself. That, well, if I
guess
wanted
so.
to, I
Holy
could just
shit.
have dozens of women. It's like, really?
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, if
Yeah.
the
You have celebrity. Yeah.
there's a book called Normal Men. I think it's called that, which is an example of actually people that think they are normal, people that don't think about their morality and that just follow orders. They become Nazis. You know, the guards that were just following orders. If we don't think about our morals, we can just become just like them, because we are not moral by nature. Although we have empathy encoded in our genes, we also have the environment around us teaching us either bad lessons or good lessons. It's all a deterministic world. It's a cruel deterministic world, because it is unfair. It gives to some more than others, handicapped people, geniuses, and maybe you are handicapped, but you're born in a family which teaches a lot of good morals, and you can become a good person that does good around them, and benefit from that, or you can be a genius born in a horrible family teaching to kill, and become a Hitler or someone else.
Were you talking about the book Moral Man and Immoral Society by Reinhold Niebuhr?
I'm gonna try to find it.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I'll just mute myself real quick.
What? What has happened? Thou shalt not
Play-
COVID.
The play on words. Play on words.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, hope I don't get canceled for that. YouTube has a way of canceling my past streams because of facetious comments that we've made. Like Manny Karen got a couple removed because he was making parody of the people that didn't like vaccines. and they took it, YouTube's robot took that as, nope, they're anti-vax. It's like, yeah. Oh, I said the words. Oh, the horrible words. YouTube's a bad environment. Anyway, well, we're almost 4:00, so we're there, but that guy's looking for the book. Normal Man.
I
can't find it.
Okay.
Sadly, I cannot find it.
I was looking at Google Books. There's also Making Men Moral, Social Engineering During the Great War, and
is it Ordinary Men? Or is it
it's Ordinary Men. Exactly that one.
Ordinary Men.
Yes.
Christopher Browning. So, yeah,
that's
it shows
a great
pictures
example. It's a great example of how someone can be born normal, or actually a great person with a lot of empathy, and still, be abducted by his environment and become a monster without the thinking. It's religion is a tool of manipulating the masses. Yes, the atheist is right. I don't believe in God, but I don't want to associate with the atheist, sadly speaking.
Okay.
They're
thing,
a bunch of woke cultists anyways. So.
They're a bunch of woke cultists, yeah.
I mean, the church and the mosque and any religion is just as bad. There's just as many priests that say they believe in God and act as monsters.
Immoral.
I don't want to say the opposite. But the thing of saying that we don't need religion, actually, I think we don't need religion in that sense, but we need a great book or a great reunion of stories teaching morals and explaining that it's not because there's a all omnipotent God that made us. Although you can believe that, it doesn't matter whether you believe that or not. The fact is, we can't prove it yet, so it doesn't matter. And the only thing that does matter is that these morals are true in a sense that it is the most useful tool that we have to make a society which works and is moral. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just want a more what's it called? Peterson calls it a metaphorical substrate that doesn't try to con me into thinking what is true or what is not true is true. I don't want to be gaslighted. Why can't people just read a bunch of good stories from various cultures? What do they call that? A book that's just a collection of articles or stories. Just read a bunch of those, and you'll have a great collection of metaphorical substrates from which to ponder the moral universe. It's when you gaslight people for the sake of control to believe that this God is the true one, and you've got to follow this religion and do things our way. that's when it becomes actually it leads to more immorality. You may fall into line in treating your in group well in terms of morality, but you end up hurting people who aren't in that in group, and that's the really big problem I have with religion, is it tries to get a bunch of people to say that what is not demonstrable in reality is true.
Yeah, well, going back to my reductive idea of morality and looking at morals as what we do, like it's generated as we live in the moment, right? In other words, every moral choice is going to be different from every other moral choice. Basically, is oh God, I lost my train of thought. What the hell were you saying, Scott? Say it again. I have to pick it up.
I'm saying don't gaslight us into thinking something that's not true is true in order to make it behave.
Got it. Your voice reminded me. So when you write it down as a religion, when you write down this moral code as in the Bible or whatever, I mean, if you look at when it was written down, it does not apply to what's happening today at all. And if you try to dogmatize it or write it down in in some form, even laws, are difficult. There are some laws we can very much agree on, but there are others that we're going to fight over till the end of time, right? So when you try to write down this generative morality in the moment that I'm thinking about, you end up with problems. So when you try to turn it into dogma, and religion very much focuses on the dogma, the finger that's pointing at the moon, and they miss the moon. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, the symbolism, the act of ritual without the symbolism. There's a lot of rituals in different religions, and if you do not understand the symbolism behind it, and therefore the morality and meaning of it, then it's just lost on you. And what we need is not the ritual. What we need is actually the morality and the symbolism of it. Although the subconscious does actually give us a lot of symbols, each differently to the individual. You could very well see a tree to symbolize growth and rebirth, and I could see the Christ or whatever. And this would still mean the same thing. We just have a different background behind this. But if we both agree that this symbolizes something and the moral lesson, then we could make a general statement and a general religion. I don't know how.
Yeah. Well, there are archetypes, right? There are archetypes that hold, I think, among humans, that symbolism. I've been doing a lot of work with dreaming. Like, I try to remember my dreams as I wake up when I'm dreaming. And it's amazing how, like, one person will morph into another, and situations that I'm dreaming about have this similar structure to something that was happening that day, but it's always surprising as hell. It's just like, that's what you got out of it. It's like, it's really crazy. And I think that's how our minds work. It's just, our minds work in archetypes, I think, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead. Deconverted Man has a video. Maybe we should take a look at this one section.
I think the reason why we have archetypes and symbolism is due to actually our pattern recognition. Giving,
right.
And it's the pattern recognition and the subconscious, because I don't know if you know, but if you damage the nerves and the brain that connect the left and right lobe, and you ask someone to do something with each arm, then the left one and the right one will do something else. This means that your brain essentially can work, as two individuals. This could mean, I don't know if it does mean that, we would need to look into it. The main thing about what true religion would be like, as to just teach morals, is it would be to actually update the religion by thinking and with new discoveries, to actually give more insight as to what morals would be even truer than what we already wrote. This would be, and not just say that this is the word of God and it's just like that and you can't change it. This would actually be a more real religion than if it was just saying that you cannot be changed. Because it would include evolution in itself.
I got a feeling that you're going to be a lot closer to spirituality and religion on the right side of the brain than on the left, rational, wordy side. Like when people have damage in the right or left temporal lobe, they lose the ability to do language, right? They can't talk, they can't form sentences, but they can still swear. When I was 10 years old, I met a guy who all he could do is swear. He could just say like really emotive words, but he couldn't put two sentences together. But now the other thing is, some people have the same damage on the right side of their brain, and they can't swear and they can't emote in their sentences. So it takes both sides of the brain to express something emotively, right? Otherwise it would just be, just talking like monotone, right, on the left side of the brain, and the right side of the brain adds emotion. But it's very interesting. So I don't know.
Yeah. And
lobster pocket square. Okay, go ahead.
With further discovery of subjects like this, if it would be included in a religion, an ideal utopic religion like this, it would make more sense in a Darwinian religion, in a Darwinian sense, than religion that doesn't change. The subconscious and patterns. I wanted to say something, I forgot. Sorry.
Okay.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's 4:00, so we're all losing our train of thought.
Yep.
So anyway, okay. So, Deconverted Man, do I dare play your video? I don't know. He's usually pretty. Okay, let's just play this one part as Jordan Peterson, and we'll see. We'll see what it is. Oh, I got to share the screen. Shit. Yeah, I forgot. No audio on StreamYard. Share screen. Okay, blah blah. Special look at Jordan Peterson. Oh, okay. Got it. Share. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play it. Replay. Let's see.
The lobster.
Oh, no.
Tell us about the lobster.
Well, that's quite a segue. Well, the first chapter I have in my book is
this
called
one.
Stand Up Straight with Your Shoulders Back. And it's an injunction to be combative, not least to further your career, let's say, but also to adopt a stance of ready engagement with the world and to reflect that in your posture. And the reason that I write about lobsters is because there's this idea that hierarchical structures are a sociological construct of the Western patriarchy. And that is so untrue that it's almost unbelievable. And I use the lobster as an example because the lobster, we divulged from lobsters in evolutionary history about 350 million years ago, common ancestor.
We didn't.
And lobsters exist in hierarchies, and they have a nervous system attuned to the hierarchy. And that nervous system runs on serotonin, just like our nervous systems do. And the nervous system of the lobster and of the human being is so similar that antidepressants work on lobsters. And it's part of my attempt to demonstrate that the idea of hierarchy has absolutely nothing to do with sociocultural construction, which it doesn't.
Let me just get this straight. You're saying that we should organize our societies along the lines of the lobsters.
I'm saying that it's inevitable that there will be continuity in the way that animals and human beings organize their structures. It's
Okay. That was great. So you should go watch Deconverted Man for that one. A special look at Jordan Peterson. That's great. And no, we fucking didn't evolve from lobsters 300 million years ago. I'm sorry.
It was crabs. That's how we got opposable thumbs.
Yeah, right. That's how we got opposable thumbs. Oh my god. Whatever.
Zach at the Shaken Fist is going live too. So anybody wants to head over there
soon? Okay.
right now.
Good enough.
Yep.
So could you put a link out for that, please, in our chat before we leave, and then we'll get ready to get out of here. So good talking to you, that guy. Do you have another name that you've been around before? Yeah. Do you have another? Do I know you?
No, not really. This is the first time here. I just clicked in on your channel by random. This is the first time I see you guys.
Oh wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for randomly click. Now you should randomly click subscribe and like. Randomly
Sure.
click that for me.
Anyway. Determinism. The world made me do this.
Okay, yeah, it was all determinism's fault. Okay. Yep, there's no real meaning and it's all determinism, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep. Anyway, waiting for that link to
Well,
Shaken Fist.
Hold on.
please.
I'm getting it
Oh,
right now.
come on.
I'm getting it right now.
Why is it taking so long? Goddamn. people.
Well, the notification didn't come up, so I had to go to his page, and here's his video, and it says waiting for Shaken Fist, so he's just about to get ready.
Copy the URL.
And there it is in the chat. There we go.
Good. Okay. There you go, guys. Let's click over to that. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for listening to my naive philosophy, which is based on scientism. So anybody wants to fight Leo.
As long as you're struggling
What's
with the ideas, and as long as you're expressing those ideas and then go back to struggling with those ideas based on what feedback you've gotten, you're fine. You know, that's the thing.
Okay.
You don't have to do the summa theologica of your own personal philosophy, because it should be growing and changing given the feedback that you've got.
And I doubt everything about what's going on inside my mind all of the time. So,
and I
doubt everything you say, Mike.
yeah, I doubt everything you two say too. You know, so fuck you both. Fuck you very much. Okay, okay, we're gonna end.
Goodbye,
okay,
everybody.
guys. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, do you have?
Bye-bye.
Do you have a channel? Do you have a channel, that guy?
Me? No. I mean,
Okay.
maybe I'll post something, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, if you get a channel, stop over and link it for people. So get
All
you
right,
some
thank
subs.
you.
Okay, so we're out. Goodbye, cruel world.